this Supreme Lord. Ejati walks, tat he, na not. Ejati walks, tat he, dure far away, tat he, who also, antike very near, tat he, anta within, asya of this, sarvasya of all, tat he, who also, sarvasya of all, asya of this, bhayata external to. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Lord walks and doesn't walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Here is a description of some of the Supreme Lord's transcendental activities executed by his inconceivable potencies. The contradiction given here proves the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. He walks and he doesn't work. Ordinarily, if someone can work, it is illogical to say he cannot work. But in reference to God, such contradictions simply serve to indicate his inconceivable power. Within our limited fund of knowledge, we cannot accommodate such contradictions, and therefore we conceive of the Lord in terms of our limited powers of understanding. For example, the impersonalist philosophers of the Mayavada school accepts only the Lord's impersonal activities and reject his personal feature. But the members of the Bhagavata school, adopting the perfect conception of the Lord, accept his inconceivable potencies and thus understand that he is both personal and impersonal. The Bhagavatas knows that without inconceivable potencies, there can be no meaning of the word Supreme Lord. We should not take it for granted that because we cannot see God with our eyes, the Lord has no personal existence. Sri Isopanishad refutes the argument by declaring that the Lord is far away but very near also. The abode of the Lord is beyond the material sky, and we have no means to measure even this material sky. If the material sky extends so far, then what to speak of the spiritual sky, which is altogether beyond it? That the spiritual sky is situated far, far away from the material universe is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.6. But despite the Lord's being so far away, he can at once, within less than a second, descend before us with a speed swifter than that of the mind or wind. He can also run so swiftly that no one can surpass him. This can always be prescribed. This has already been prescribed in the previous mantra. Yet, when the personality of Godhead comes before us, we neglect him. Such foolish negligence is condemned by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 9.11, where he says that the foolish deride him, considering him a mortal being. He is not a mortal being, nor does he come before us with a body produced of material nature. There are many so-called scholars who contend that the Lord descended in a body made of matter, just like an ordinary living being. Not knowing his inconceivable power, such foolish men place the Lord in an equal level with the ordinary man. Because he is full of inconceivable potencies, God can accept our service through any sort of medium, and he can convert his personal potencies according to his own will. Non-believers argue either that the Lord cannot incarnate himself at all, or that if he does, he descends in a form of material energy. These arguments are nullified if we accept the existence of the Lord's inconceivable potencies. Then we'll understand that even if the Lord appears before us in the form of material energy, it is quite possible for him to convert the energy into spiritual energy. Since the source of the energies is one and the same, the energies can be utilized according to the will of their source. For example, the Lord can appear in the form of the Archa Vigraha, a deity supposedly made of art, stone, or wood. Deity forms, although engraved from wood, stone, or other matter, are not idols, as the iconoclasts contend. In our present state of imperfect material existence, we cannot see the Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision. Yet those devotees who want to see him by means of immaterial vision are favored by the Lord, who appears in a so-called material form to accept his devotee service. One should not think that such devotees who are in the lowest stage of devotional service are worshipping an Lord. They are factually worshipping the Lord who has agreed to appear before them in such an approachable way, not in the archetype form fashioned according to the whims of the worshipper. This form is eternally existent with all the paraphernalia. This can be actually felt by a sincere devotee, not by an atheist. In Bhagavad Gita 4.11, the Lord says that how he treats his devotees depend on his devotees' degree of surrender. The Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone or everyone, but to show himself only to those souls who surrender unto him. Thus, for the surrendered soul, he is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered souls, he is far, far away and cannot be approached. In this connection, two words the revealed scripture often apply to the Lord. Saguna with qualities, Nirguna without qualities are important. The word Saguna doesn't imply that the Lord appears with perceivable qualities. He must take on a material form and be subject to the laws of material nature. For him, there is no difference between the material and spiritual energies because he is the source of all energies. As the controller of all energies, he cannot at any time be under their influence as we are. The material energy works according to his direction. Therefore, he can use that energy for his purposes without ever being influenced by any of the qualities of that energy. In this sense, he is nirguna without qualities. Nor does the Supreme Lord becomes a formless entity at any time. For ultimately, he is the eternal form, the primeval Lord. His personal aspect or Brahman effulgence is but the glow of his personal rays, just as the sun's rays are the glows of the sun. When the child Saint Prahlad Maharaj was in the presence of his father asked him, "Where is your God?" Then Prahlad replied that God resides everywhere. The father angrily asked whether his God was within one of the pillars of the palace, and the child said yes. At once the atheist king shattered the pillar in front of him and to pieces, and the Lord instantly appeared as Nrsimha, the half man, half lion incarnation, and killed the atheist king. Thus, the Lord is within everything, and He creates everything by His own different energies. Through this His inconceivable powers, He can appear at any place in order to favor His sincere devotee. Lord Nrsimha appeared from within the pillar not by the order of the atheist king, but by the wish of his devotee Prahlad. An atheist cannot order the Lord to appear, but the Lord will appear anywhere and everywhere to show mercy to his devotees. The Bhagavad Gita 4.8 similarly states that Lord appears in order to vanquish non-believers and protect believers. Of course, the Lord has sufficient energies and agents who can vanquish atheists, but it pleases him to personally favor a devotee. Therefore, it descends as an incarnation. Actually, he descends only to favor his devotees and not for any other purpose. In the Brahma Samhita 5.35, it is said that Govinda, the primeval Lord, enters everything by his plenary portion. He enters the universe as well as the atoms of the universe. He is outside in his Virat form and he is within everything as Antaryami. As Antaryami, he witnesses everything that is going on, and he awards us the results of our action as karma phala. We therefore may forget that we have done in previous life, but because the Lord witnesses our actions, the result of our actions are always there, and we have to undergo the reaction nonetheless. The fact is that there is nothing but God within and without. Everything is a manifestation of His different energies, like the heat and light emanating from a fire. And this way, there is open oneness among His diverse energies. Although there is oneness, however, the Lord in His personal form still enjoys unlimitedly all the pleasures enjoyed minutely by the tiny part and parcel living entities. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखावितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पञ्चकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाश आदि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नीलाचल नित्याय परमात्मने Balabhadra Subhadra Ben Jagannathaya Namo. Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha every day evening with the systematic study of Isopanishad, one of the 108 Upanishads written by Srila Vyasadeva and Srila Prabhupada choose to translate Isopanishad. And today we are in the fifth verse Very beautiful verse, as you can see through the long purport. Here, uh, Lord Vyasadeva is mentioning the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Dure, that means he's far away, and also Antike, that means he's nearby. So Lord is far away and nearby. And also, Vyasadeva is saying, Tad antar asya sarvasya. That means he's within and ending with Bahatya, outside. So he's inside and outside. He's nearby and far away. He works and he doesn't work. So this is a very poetic way of understanding. The poets, they go and try to think that this is right, this is wrong. And sometimes after a long time, people think poets do not have a perspective. They are not scientific. Their views are not experimental. They sometimes will say, this person as a poet can say that I can take the moon from the sky and give it to you, which is not possible in a practical scientific sense. But for a devotee, Lord is everywhere. Lord is near, Lord is far. Lord is within, Lord is outside. Lord is walking, Lord is not walking. This can only be understood through some examples. Let's take. So whenever a mom goes to a temple and he sees the shoes of the child, he recognizes that the child is either in the temple or in the community hall because the shoes of the child is there. Through the shoes of the child, the mother recognizes whether a child, his child. So through the shoes, he sees the child who she gave birth to. Likewise, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham Sarvascha Prabhavo. Everything comes from him. This beautiful nature, the valley, the sea, ocean, beautiful mountains, the glaciers. Aham Sarvascha Prabhavo. So when we see these beautiful nature, the material nature, and we see that as a creation of the Supreme, then we can appreciate that Lord is everywhere. But if we think this is mine, that is his, and the beautiful handiwork of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can never be felt with a selfish mind. But when you see things from the eyes of the Supreme, based on the scriptures, you recognize that Lord is everywhere. So in this verse, there is some inconceivable qualities of the Lord which are contradictory to each other is presented. This is presented because we as human beings, we have imperfect senses. Our eyesights are not good. Our hearing power is not good. Our ability to taste is not good. When COVID hits, when somebody is or when a jaundice hits, if you're given sweet, it will feel bitter because you do not have the right method or the right senses to taste. We do not have the right mentality to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, Lord is so magnanimous that it is inconceivable. So, in two sense, Lord is inconceivable because we do not have the right sense to recognize who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. And also, the Lord is so unimaginable. When Arjuna saw the Virat Roop, he got confused because how come a person who he played with in the childhood could see, he could see that the universal form of the Lord is being manifested with so many heads, so many people are getting engulfed into the mouth of the Lord, and there is so much of Virat Roop of the Lord, where in order to see, Arjuna was given spiritual goggles. Arjuna was given spiritual Divya Drushti to see. Because if Arjuna can not perceive Lord in his own eyes, we without true Divya Drushti, through the knowledge, through the spiritual injunction from our acharyas, we cannot see the Lord. We cannot see the Lord unless Lord wishes us to see him. You might have seen there are many dhams where I have experienced it, that whenever you plan, something may not happen, but you do not plan, everything will happen. You go there, you get a great darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord of the Universe, and everything falls in line. You plan, you try to execute your ego by getting the best car, things doesn't happen. So Lord chooses to see you, only then you'll be able to see the Lord. Otherwise, it's because we are imperfect, as Srila Prabhupada is saying in those beautiful purports, and we should recognize that we're imperfect. And also, Lord Lord is magnanimous, and Lord is inconceivable for to understand through a very tiny human being like us. Then Lord is near and far. Lord is present everywhere. Lord is manifesting as Krishna's, Purna Purushottam Krishna's. His first expansion is Karandaksha Vishnu, where through his exhaling and inhaling, universes are getting created and annihilated. And then from Karnadaksha Vishnu, who is sleeping in the causal ocean, he enters into each of these universes as at a universe level as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and he sleeps on the Garbhodaka ocean, and from his navel a lotus erupts, and from the top of the lotus Brahmaji appears, and he goes and creates, or rather executes the design of Garbhodaksha Vishnu in creating and maintaining different things within the universe. And then he gives birth to Manu and so many other personalities from whom the human beings and animals, 8.4 million species come. And then as a third expansion, Lord enters into the heart of each of these particles, even an atom, algae, amoeba, and that he enters as Kirodaksha Vishnu. So Lord is present very near in our heart. At the same time, when there is distress, when we think, Lord, when you go against or unfavorable to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord is very far. Lord never listens to devotees who create problems, who have full of ahankar, who have blocked their heart by so much of anarthas that there is a heart attack because there is a blockage somewhere. And in order to clear all those blockage, we need to take association of scriptures which are written under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his literary expansion, Vyasadeva. Is far as Karnadaksha Vishnu. Karnadaksha Vishnu is residing in causal ocean, very far from us. But make no mistake, he is also near us. He is right in our hearts as Kirodaksha Vishnu. And he is inside and outside. As Srila Prabhupada says, Hiranyakasipu was challenging. Hiranyakasipu was unfavorable. And he was challenging that is your God inside this pillar. And Lord, to the rescue of his greatest devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, he came out. So he is within the pillar and is seen by the surrendered souls with the half lion, half man form. Prahlad Maharaj saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is Virat. Has a universal form, huge, can't really control it. And also in our heart, as I mentioned, he's there as Antaryami. And he is personal and impersonal. For people like us, bhaktas, he appears as Damodar. He appears as Lord Jagannath, goes on a yatra. He appears as Sham Sundar, whose birthday we just celebrated. Very personalized form. And also for impersonalist, he is impersonal. He's a void. What is right or wrong is beyond the point, but Lord can be personal, Lord can be impersonal. And he can be full of gunas and he can be devoid of gunas. That's why Lord is also mentioned as Trigunatit. He is beyond the three gunas, goodness, passion, ignorance. That's why he is Triguna Atit. Atit means beyond. So he is also called as Trigunatit. So he is inside and outside. And he has inconceivable potencies. We have so many incarnations. It's not that Lord only has 10 incarnations. It's just that Jayadev wrote the Savatar. But there are around 25 to 30 incarnations of the Lord based on different uh, these incarnations are done by the Lord because he has a purpose to satisfy. Hiranyakashipu, he had to come out as half lion, half man, human. For Varaharu, he had to come out because he had to lift Mother Earth from drowning. And likewise, Matsya Avatar, all these avatars have a reason. Vyasadeva came as the literary expansion of the Lord. And he's the source of all energies. He's the source. He is source of energies because Krishna says he's everything comes from him. Aham sarvasvaro. He is the source of everything, all the energies. And in the deity form, he exhibits his various different pastimes. And so the Archa Vigraha form is no less than the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And he is one and different. So whenever we have fire, from fire, both heat comes and light comes. You can't tell fire that you just give light and don't give heat. Or you can't tell fire, don't give me heat, give me light. That's just not possible. So from fire, there are differences of heat and light. And then he he can be uh, he can be seen as one and only with all the 64 qualities as Purna Purushottam Krishna. And also, he enjoys the Leelas of the Lord in his personal form, playing with gopis and playing with his devotees. So, also, Brahma Samhita, which Prabhupada is quoting, he is an undifferentiated entity as there is no distinction between potency and possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, which is the Karnadaksha Vishnu, and is present in fullness in every one of the atom that is scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. That is Kirodakshaya Vishnu. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore, which is Brahmaji is saying. So when Arjuna's son Abhimanyu was killed, Arjuna took a vow to kill Jayadratha, and there is a beautiful pastime. After that, Abhimanyu's wife Uttara, Brahmastra was hurled by Aswathama. When Brahmastra was hurled at Aswathama, Maharani Kunti is seeing Krishna, he is praying to Krishna to save his generation, because prior to that, the 5 sons of Draupadi Maharani were killed. So in front of Maharani Kunti, Krishna is standing in front of him. But at the same time, Maharani Kunti knows that the only person who can eradicate effect of Brahmastra is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when he's seeing, and it is mentioned in our scriptures, the Lord Krishna goes to the womb of Mother Uttara and recovers the son. And who is that son? Parikshit. Because he has been recovered after a very complex exam, after a very hard exam. He is born after a very complex and tough exam. He is known from that day as Parikshit. And Parikshit Maharaj, towards the end of his life, started listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, the greatest epic Purana of all times. So in front of Mother Kunti, Krishna is standing right there and is recovering Uttara's son from the clutches of Brahmastra. So he can be there anywhere. He can be there. Sometimes when we offer bhoga to the Lord with a tulsi, Lord is attracted to his devotees. Tulsi Maharani was one of the greatest devotee of the Lord. Lord glances at the bhoga offering, not what you give, but how you give, not the items you have made, but how much love you have put in making those items. And Lord glances. So when Lord glances, he eats it. So Lord can eat with his eyes. Lord can eat with his eyes. It is inconceivable for us to recognize that Lord can eat with any of his organs. Lord can, if you see little boy Krishna, for example, when he is getting rid of all the asuras and demons of Vrindavan when he was a little baby, he did not use any weapon for that matter. He just used his fist and kick and in a playful mood. So it's unthinkable for us. But the people who are surrendered to Krishna, they recognize that Krishna can save them. If you are under a kid from ICNJ and he says, I have this big wooden thing, please come, I'll lift it, and you stand under it. We will not have faith in him. He may shake up that wooden thing and we may get crushed and get injured. But Brajvasis did not think that this 7-year-old Krishna can lift a mountain, and if he shakes it up, then the mountain will fall under above them and they will get crushed. They had so much of faith that they recognize that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He will save us, whatever the situation may be. And they never ever bothered to complain. And they stayed under that mountain, Govardhan Leela of the Lord, for 7 days, 7 nights. And there was so much of rain. All the Vrajavasis were saved from the wrath of Indra. And Indra was down to his knees in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the time, the devotees did not bother about the age of the Lord. They believed that he can do anything and everything. So it's very inconceivable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the devotees of the Lord, they always understand the importance of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they go to any extent in recognizing that. So our Acharya of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, do activity in such a way that you don't see the Lord. Lord sees you by your actions, by your services. And that is the reason why most of the time when people go with an intent to take picture with the Lord, it is mentioned that it can be a personal thing. But at the same time, if we do the service in such a way that Lord sees us through his actions, through our actions, then we are going to be very grateful for the slight uh, speck of mercy we get through the activities of devotional service. So when a mother goes to a place and sees that the child's shoes are there, he knows that his child is there. And why she feels that way? It's because she has tremendous faith and love for his kid. She sees the child everywhere. Whenever they go to a parent teacher meeting or school, she is looking for his son because it is through that element of love. Likewise, if we start building that sense of reciprocation and sense of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He is from whom we all have come, and serve Him, we will start feeling the same way to everybody else. In this world, why there is so much of fighting nowadays? It's all because we do not recognize the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We think with the ahankara vimudatma karta hamiti manyate. We always think that because of this ahankar, we are the doer, we are the doer, we are the doer. We never recognize the handiwork of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we become scientists, we think there is a big explosion and this world, this beautiful world, just by accident through this explosion could come together and this beautiful universe could be created. And another set of scientists will think that through this boiling process of primordial soup, this beautiful universe has come across. So this is the point wherein more and more we see everyone as the child of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We will not have ill feelings towards them. And whether it is a white bodied, black bodied, brown bodied person, we'll have no issue, no qualms about anyone, and we will all live in harmony. But that never happens because of our personal ego or ahankara. And because, and sooner we give that up and think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present everywhere, He is present with our neighbor, He is present with our co worker, there will be no argument with any of them, and we will lead a life of harmony. That's the reason why with Krishna consciousness life you can lead to harmonious relationship, but we are not perfect. That's the reason why there are infighting in many different religious organizations, because there is so much of ego classes which keep happening because they haven't understood the basics of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is about seeing everyone in relationship to the Lord, and Lord views, He is so magnanimous. At the same time, we have full of defects. Because of that, we have to see the handiwork of the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere. Whenever we have a bad news, we always curse the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when it's a good news, we think it's all because of our hard work. And this is, my dear devotees, this is where we have to see everything in connection to the Lord. And that is where this Upanishad, verse number 5, sets a tone for all of us to understand that Lord can be present anywhere and everywhere. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to be in the Kirtan, in the 8 Kirtan Mandali groups in Jagannath Puri during the Rath Yatra, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will dance with Swarup Damodar and everyone in different groups. After some time, when the Rath Yatra ended, everybody felt that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were there with him all the time. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will go in order to see him. The chariot also stopped in order to see him dance with so much of devotion, enthusiasm, with energy. Jagannath, Lord Jagannath, right in the chariot stopped. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come and will nudge the chariot from the backside with his head, and then Lord Jagannath will go in the yatra beautifully. It's precisely because Lord can appear anytime, and there's so many wonderful pastimes in Siddha Bakul, the Vaitak or the ashram of our Namacharya Haridas Thakur. There was a tree, and um, there was a news that the tree will be cut to make chariot. Devotees prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the end, when the time to cut the tree came, the tree became hollow. And still today, 500 years later, you go there, that hollow tree is standing still. Because some of the Lord's actions are so inconceivable, it is very difficult to recognize that how come all of a sudden this happened, that happened. And this is exactly why we all should resort to scriptures and take cue from scriptures in leading a life wherein we take inspiration from devotees and Lord's actions. And by hearing more and more, reading more and more, we'll get to a point where we see Lord's handiwork in everything in our life. At the time, if sad news, bad news comes in our life, we think that it is an offering, it is a it's a prasad of the Lord, and Lord has given that prasad, whether the prasad is rice and dal or prasad is chappan bhog, prasad is prasad. If you take it in that mindset, we will never feel sad. The sadness, the sad energy will think, what is happening? This person is insulated from the sad thing. I am no good here. Let me go out. Happiness will come. So it's a matter of perception. It's a matter of deep thought process. It's a matter of conviction, which is why there was a bunch of devotees during Srila Prabhupada's time, why they surrendered. They didn't know how to read Sanskrit. Still today, many of us don't know well to read Sanskrit, but their ability to surrender to a great servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, paved the way, and they became hippies. From hippies, they became happies. So we can go on and talk about the glories of the Lord, but Lord can only be understood by a devotee. When Surdas ji Surdas was blind physically, but he was not mentally blind. He was very much alert in his mindset, but he was physically blind. When he fell down into a well, um, he was rescued by a little boy, but he knew in his mind that it was Krishna who was come to rescue him. But finally, when the boy leaves him by sort of dragging his hand away, Surdasji writes that you can go from here, but from my heart you cannot leave with because you are always present in my heart. So if for devotees like them, Lord can come anytime, anywhere into the well to rescue. They can be anywhere. The Lord is present everywhere. For Prahlad Maharaj, Lord is everywhere. For great devotees of the Lord, um, Supreme Personality of God is everywhere. So with that mindset, if we look at our life will be sublime, and our acharyas would be pleased. So with that, I'd like to end here. I want to hear your comments, corrections, and reflections as to how we should see God, how we should see the inconceivable potencies of the Lord, which are often unthinkable. And anytime we try to rationalize by making 2 + 2 = 4, we'll always fall short, because we are not perfect. With that, I'll open up for any question, comments. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any question, comments, Prabhu? Any additions? Isopanishad verse 5. Lord is inconceivable, and we can only understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by being a devotee. Only a devotee can understand. If politicians write Bhagavad Gita, we should not read Bhagavad Gita from them because they haven't understood, because it can only be understood by a devotee. The Lord can only be understood by a devotee. Any thoughts? If there is no questions or comments, we can end here.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hema Jagannath Prabhu. Thank you so much for a nice explanation with examples. So, dear devotees, you would like to add or any realization or questions or concerns or comments? They're very important that we discuss so that we all can share each other our realizations. And then if there are any questions, so that we can address, everybody else also get benefited. So satsang always helps to purify our heart. Thank you so much. Go ahead if you have any questions, any comments, reflections, realizations, any other doubts.
Hare Krishna, Hema Jagannath Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisance, all Guru Shri Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the nice class as always, Prabhu. If I can share a few things on how to see God, how to see Krishna. One is a personal experience Sachi Rani had. Her brother-in-law would always be saying, Maladev bagaitse, Maladev, I want to see God in Marathi, I want to see God, I want to see God. So Sachi Rani told him one day, okay, fine. You see God. You met God. Now what? What will you do? And he was completely bewildered. His mouth, his jaw dropped open. He didn't know. For a moment he thought, and then he didn't know what to do. So the whole purpose is based on service, serving. And how to see God is given in Brahma Samhita Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. That verse. When the eyes are anointed by the salve of love, that's when we can actually sakshat see Bhagwan in his form. The form of even if you're seeing the deity, we'll actually not see stone, wood, marble. We'll actually see Bhagwan himself. And then the next question is, how do you get this salve of love? It's not something in the market you go purchase like kajal and you put it. How do you get, what is that salve of love? That can be purchased through surrender. Sarva dharman parityaja. Surrender what? Nothing is ours. So what is there for us to surrender? Surrendering the false ego. Then the next question is, how do we surrender the false ego? We can surrender the false ego through the process of bhakti. Then what exactly is this bhakti, that process? What's the SOP, standard operating procedure? That SOP of bhakti is knowledge and practice. Then the knowledge is what knowledge? It is Divya Gyan, this transcendental knowledge, which can only come in the disciplic succession, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. And the practice is the discipline, which is the do's and don'ts. And do your chanting, do the ABCDs, whatever, association, books, chanting, deity worship, diet, prasadam. And the don'ts, no milk eating, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. So when we follow these at a high level, that's when slowly we start it becomes personal. From philosophical, it becomes personal. A relationship is established. And slowly, gradually, these anarthas will go, and then we can sakshad see Bhagwan. And finally, to close, it is not something cheap. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of Prabhupada's purports, I don't remember the verse. It's an Adi Leela only, where Krishna reserves the right. He's not cheap at all. Just because you want to see God doesn't mean that he'll make himself available. Of course, indirectly, he's there all around us, like you nicely explained. Even in that atom, he's sitting over there. But if you want to have Sakshat presence, he's not cheap. And we need to pay the price. And then this is the thing which, how do you say, Prabhupada has given us a discounted mechanism that even with all our hippies, we are worse than the hippies. He has made it possible for us. So we just need to stick with it, little bit of sincerity and little bit of enthusiasm, humility. And yes, we are there. Thanks, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. You summarized this very beautifully. You started with even if we meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but if we are corrupt with our thought process, our mind is not pure, and that is the Premanjana Charita. That's where we need the tinge of bhakti so that the impurities are done. Then only we can, when there is this beautiful videos of Gaurang Prabhu, this driver always not happy with the cleaner who's trying to clean the car, is not happy. And after some time, the wife takes his glass and wipes it, makes it clean, and then everything goes clean. So and also you talked about the regulative principles, do's and don'ts. I think you covered it all. As if anybody would hear those 4 or 5 minutes, I think you have understood the recipe of Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any other additions? Views? Thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mother.
I wanted to share my realization. Like I recently started this Krishna consciousness, but when I do japa, I I don't know, but I feel like I see Krishna, but I don't know it is really is happening or not. I don't know. Even in my dreams also, I have seen many times Krishna. So is it like an illusion is happening, or is it really Krishna is coming into my dream? Or when I do japa, is it like a Krishna Swaroop is there, or illusion? I don't know. So if anyone can tell me about this.
For sure. Yeah, I'll take a stab at it, Mataji. Thank you for sharing, for opening up your heart in sharing that through your dreams and through your japa, you are having that personal time with the Supreme, which is, see, whenever you are in deep thoughts, you are always thinking about the Lord. During the final days of King Dasrath, he was seeing Ram. He was looking for Ram all the time. He was constantly in separation of Ram. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during the Anavasara period, he was so much of separation of Lord Jagannath, because after Snanyatra he doesn't give darshan because he transcendently he ran to Alarnath, and seeing Mahavishnu form in Alarnath, he fell down. He melted the stone out there. If you go there, the molten stone is there. So if Krishna is into your consciousness, he is present everywhere. like as you said, when you're chanting, when you're in dreams, it is definitely not fluke or not illusory at all. You are definitely experiencing that. And that's why, with so many mechanical years of sadhana, I have never seen that kind of experience, Mataji, just so we are clear about. So, uh, definitely, Lord, as Prabhu mentioned, Krishna choose to reveal himself based on his desire. So, keep up that enthusiasm, and Lord is you've been blessed, and more sadhana you end up doing, more and more chanting you end up doing, more and more service you do in your house or in temple, you will experience that connection with Krishna, and Krishna is there all the time. Amritaran Prabhu, you want to add something? You raised your hand.
No, Prabhu, I have a question. Uh, you know, it is those who are born in Vrindavan, the holy Dham, they are great souls. They are not ordinary people in a material world. Just to take birth in Vrindavan. Now, the same way I'm thinking, Prabhu, like people in Vrindavan, Dwarka, they have a spontaneous connection with Krishna. Similarly, those who are Odiyas, like you, they have a, how do you say, instinctive connection with Lord Jagannath. Of course, we know who Lord Jagannath is, but after coming into ISKCON, we know a little bit more of his pastimes and things like that. So, Prabhu, I'm trying to get an understanding for a person like an Odia person like you. I'm sure in your childhood, you must have heard many pastimes of Lord Jagannath. And now you came into the Hare Krishna movement, you accepted Diksha. So how do you think that background has helped you, or what has ISKCON done to add on to it? Like how do you say value addition, if I may call that, to a person who's already spontaneously attached to Jagannath? If you could share that experience, Prabhu.
Sure, I will. Hey, thank you, Prabhu, for asking. Actually, to tell you the truth, Prabhu, the aspect of Lord Jagannath was not well defined to me. I was in a way, I was attached to Lord Jagannath more of a ritualistic / routine manner. But after coming into Krishna consciousness, it's like you try to take a cricket bat and try to defend. You're batting well purely on instinct. But once a coach comes, you finesse your style, your footwork, your ability to go front or back, you know the technicalities, you realize how much you're missing. And that is a big difference. See, most of the devotees from Odisha, they are blind, they can do anything for Jagannath, but they have not understood. Well, I can't say that, but at least personally speaking, uh, the technicalities around. If you look at Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Adil and Anta Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's entirely in Jagannath Puri. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent 24 years of his 48 years of his manifested life in Jagannath Puri. So the entire ISKCON, if you look at it, is based around Jagannath Puri, because Jagannath Puri was the epicenter at that point in time to Krishna conscious movements 500 years ago. And likewise, 1200 years ago when Sankaracharya came, the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, that area was the epicenter. And, when some of the Maharashtrian saints came, it all depends on the personalities around. Lord Jagannath temple is there for hundreds and thousands of years ago. But because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he really took it to a very different level. And when Srila Prabhupada came, after having done the first Rath Yatra in the Western world, he took it to a totally different level. So earlier, the Rath Yatra was not happening outside India. But what is Jagannath? Jagannath is Lord of the universe. Still that time, the universal yatra was not happening. Vaishlab. So I must say that I was absolutely not coached, and we have a different way of recognizing, but definitely Krishna conscious movement has magnified it, and we could see. I came to know how much I didn't know after joining ISKCON, because the other aspects were wide open. Is that okay, bro?
Yes, Prabhu, well said.
Yeah.
That analogy of the coach and cricket, very nice. Thanks, Prabhu.
Thank you, bro. And Shravani Mataji, did you get the answer, or anybody like to add? Because during many such interactions, the similar questions are asked, but anybody else would like to opine on Shravani Mataji's question of how you could see God, and she has experienced this twice through her dreams and through her japa. But anybody else would like to share their experiences, please open up and share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Anjana here. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Bol. Yes, Prabhuji, I was listening, and as you mentioned, like somehow how you was more like attached or attracted to Lord Jagannath. I'm from Punjab, and I do not understand. I'm having same experience with Lord Jagannath. Like somehow from Rath Yatra experience, or I have a feeling like I had that before also within me, but I realize now, I'm realizing more and more, like I'm moving forward more towards Lord Jagannath. And other experiences, yes, we do feel like the Lord is around us in some way. I cannot say like in the dream, it didn't feel like a dream. It was like either meditation or like I try to meditate like before bedtime and also when we wake up. So I'm not sure if that was in the sleep or, but I have like very nice experiences, and it felt like Lord is right standing right next to me. And even I have seen temples and with deities inside the temple in my dreams. So is there any reason why this happened to us?
Yes, very nice. So, yeah, Mataji, that's whatever you said is you're speaking like a devotee. Most of the time, some people in the temple will talk like a manager. Some people in the office will talk like a friend. But a devotee, through his actions, through his thinking, through his book reading, through his scriptural references, through his uh, kathas, attending programs, serving, uh, and during Radhastami is coming, we have Mataji's. They will work very hard, make bhoga for Radharani, and by the time in the evening when we give out the garlands, like the jasmine garlands, after some time, I remember 15-20 years back in Marathi Vistro, Mataji is wearing the garland of Radharani, and she is just walking around crying. You just literally, I could see that she is in her own space. She's walking, she's not. But so once you constantly think about the Supreme, that feeling, what you just mentioned, is not impossible. And you talked about that attraction for the Lord Jagannath. Why was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And there is, you know, for Krishna consciousness, there is always an external region and an internal reason. People say that Mother Sachi wanted his Nimai to be nearby. That is definitely a reason. But another reason also mentioned by our acharyas are Lord Jagannath is without Radharani, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srimati Radharani without Krishna. Gaur Govind Maharaj mentions that Jagannath is Radha Viraha Vidura. He is Krishna in separation of Radharani, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna Viraha Vidura. He is Radharani in separation of Krishna. So, so Jagannath is very unique in that sense. So in separation, all the feelings comes out. That's one. And secondly, this is the only form of the Lord Most of the time you go to a doctor to take care of your ailments, right? But Lord Jagannath is the only doctor, only supreme doctor. He comes out from his hospital, from his abode to meet his devotees. So he's the most merciful. He's Krishna in the most merciful form, and he is Krishna in the most separation form when all the bhavas comes out. So that's why, Bhakti Prasad Maharaj, many sannyasis in our movement, and Srila Prabhupada as well, has glorified that the reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Lord Jagannath is because of something very special he saw. So your attraction to Lord Jagannath is nice, and keep up that thing. Go to Dham. There is a Dham Yatra happening in November, where close to 8 to 10,000 devotees will go in November for 7-8 days. It's one of the best yatras organized by our ISKCON. It's organized by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. Many of our temple devotees will be there. I attended the 2018 yatra of Jagannath Puri by His Radhanath Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. So, and also there are other Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj also takes yatra to Jagannath Puri, and Bhakti Prasad Maharaj does Sri Kshetra Parikrama, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj used to have yatras as well. But this rgyatra.com, Radha Gopinath Yatra, they manage it very nicely. So something to consider, because we have to recharge our batteries all the time, because unless we recharge our batteries by going to dhams, whether it is Badrinath or Dwarkanath or Ramnath or Jagannath or Mayapur or Vrindavan, we have to sort of keep inspiring us all the time. Every 2-3 years, if you don't go to a dham, you feel dry. So make the most of it. As the Kartik is coming, there will be so many yatras, so that we stay connected with the Supreme all the time. And you have the good fortune of seeing Lord everywhere around you, which is very nice. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Prabhuji. Yes, sure. That's on my mind. And I'm thinking like how to go, like Calcutta flight. And then I tried few years back, but then there was that Naxali kind of that terror was there. And then all the trains or the area was shut down, or early morning or evening trains were cancelled. Things were happening like that before COVID days.
Now there is no issue. You can go to both Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan. No worries. It's getting better actually. There is nice cleanliness has coming up. All the places of interest, this government is taking a lot more interest in keeping it clean and accessible. And it's much better. It's growing. It's getting better every year.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if there is no other question, we can end here, Prabhu. Any other comments? Okay, if there's no...
Thank you so much. So a few announcements. As you all know that this Thursday tomorrow is the Lalita Shashti. That's the appearance day of Lalita Sakhi, the most dear Sakhi of Srimati Lalita, Srimati Radharani. And Friday is the most auspicious appearance day of Srimati Radharani. We call Radhashtami. It's a full celebration at the temple, and we'll be having a beautiful darshan of the Radharani, especially Lotus feet. Plus, there'll be Abhishek, Pushpa Abhishek. Everybody can participate in the Abhishek, the Kirtan, and there are 501 items offerings. And please try that as much as you can. Make some items possible and bring it. Can offer to the Supreme Lord. So please try to make some dry sweets, dry prasadam, so that not much liquidy. In a small container, like an aluminum container, small ones, tray. Please bring it as much as you can and bring it before 7 o'clock or maximum 7:30 before. So also there is a special offering that we can offer lotuses to Srimati Radharani. Every year we do that, and we are ordering 100 lotuses, and if first come first serve, getting closer to 100 now. Please, if you are interested to offer lotuses to Srimati Radharani, then we'll be having a water fountain, water pond in front of the altar. So we can put the lotuses in that pond and then pray to Srimati Radharani. And that's another. There'll be a pen and paper. You can write on the paper and put it along with the lotuses, so that this we do every year. And this also an opportunity to offer our sincere love or devotion to Srimati Radharani. So please join, please don't miss it. And these are the wonderful, wonderful moments in our life, human form of life, that we get it to express, exhibit our devotion to Srimati Radharani. So we have a lot of services. Please join if you can on Friday. Cooking starts at 11 a.m. and other decorations and garlands and cleaning up and helping into the abhishek, making and bringing and cooking, cleaning and distributing books, so many areas of services. So please join as well, and if you can, and please let us know whichever you like to part of. Okay, thank you so much. Anything else? Anybody?
Yes, Prabhu. Saturday, Philly Rath Yatra.
Oh, yeah, Saturday is Philadelphia Rath Yatra. This is pretty much considered as the last Rath Yatra on this North America region. So that starts at 12 p.m. on the Ben Franklin, the main road, starting at 12. Many devotees are going as well. So please join. It's one of the best. It's a festival of chariot, plus festival of Jagannath parade. There are festivities, a lot of things happening there on the what is that? Oculus, something like that. Yeah. So please join, and anything else? And next month is the Kartik is starting on 28th. So let's all prepare for it. Okay. Any other comments or any logistic questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Let's conclude today's section. Let's pray together. Vancha kalpatarupasya Prabha Sindhu Bheva Janmadidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Vaishnavrinda ki
Jai.
Raj Srimati Shobh
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
The Gaudiya Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Hari Hari
Hari Hari Hari Bo. Thank you, everybody. Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.